Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I am William Wallis, and with me today is State Representative Troy Romero. He's District 37. Representative, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, William.
So how are things going in this session for you?
It's been quite busy. You know, it's shortened session because it's a tax session, so everybody's trying to get their legislation through, and committees are full. We've had to stay late for most of the nights over the last couple of weeks, and it's just part of the process.
You know, I was here last night with you guys, and I think y'all didn't finish till like somewhere between 7 and 8 o'clock.
That's correct.
Here, so you see everybody, they're working hard for the people of Louisiana, you know, but speaking of that, I want to talk about your district. I want to give everybody an idea where districts are. So kind of a geographical map. Where is your district?
So Southwest Louisiana, I represent all of Jeff Davis Parish, and then the eastern portion of Calcasieu Parish, Iowa, Bell City, Hayes, and the Little Blue Settlement area, Homewood.
Kind of a rural area, is it?
It's mostly rural, yes, it's mostly rural, agricultural related.
Now, are you more, I was going to say rural, are you more farmland, or are you multiple parishes? Because a lot of people don't realize that some of these districts go multiple parishes.
Right, I'm very fortunate. My district is fairly unique and square, which is unusual. So it's got, you know, it's
defined boundaries.
Yeah, defined boundaries that are square, and that's very unusual. Usually, you know, you are covering more than one parish. I get to just two, and like I said, the eastern portion of Calcasieu and all of Jeff Davis. So that's a prize for me.
I've seen some of the districts, they almost look like a little piece of spaghetti going up the middle, kind of catch some boundaries and whatnot. But, well, what is it that you did before or that you do other than being a state rep? I always like to mention that people don't realize that this is basically a full-time job, part-time pay. You know, you guys chose it because you want to serve people, and that's very admirable, and I love that about what, you know, a lot of people here that I meet. But you know, you do something otherwise because you got to make a living, you know, to support your passion to basically represent the people of your area.
That's true. And so I'm a general contractor, and I build sports and athletic fields, all natural grass. I own a company called Sports Turf Specialists. It's been in business since 2008. And we're fortunate that we get to travel all across the South and build beautiful grass fields, football, baseball, softball, golf courses. It's been a really good deal for me.
That's really a unique business. Not many, you don't hear of that many businesses like that. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because the more representatives I meet, everybody does something different, seems to do different things, and it really kind of blends a part of that uniqueness to the legislature. When you have people do it in different industries, you have a unique opinion at times.
Right, and that's what makes the process work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 105 on our side, 105 different ideas. There's 105 different people that have different thoughts and how to maybe make things better for the people of Louisiana, and so that's an important part of you know, why the process works.
Yeah, I know I was in a committee yesterday, in a committee, and I heard about you were having a hard time getting labor for your business.
That is true.
And so that gave a very unique perspective on your situation, you know, on a labor problem. So you had a uniqueness to contribute to the bill.
That's correct. And,
you know,
it's probably one of the most important things that's going on. You know, we have unemployment benefits that are in process on a general level, so from the state level, but then we have this additional $300 that's coming down from the federal government, and what it's doing is it's putting a damper on the businesses all across the state to find employees. I mean, if you start looking around, and I challenge everybody, especially my colleagues, when you go out, you know, on the weekends or when you get to go home, notice all of the help wanted signs. I mean, people are begging people to go back to work, and here we are paying these exorbitant benefits to people to stay home. And I think that it's something probably we need to look at really very carefully as a state.
And something I've never mentioned in a video, which I've actually been thinking about for the last couple of days, and I want to thank you for reminding me to say this on video, is that the whole shutdown has really messed up our economy in more ways than just, you know, the numbers being down. But to your point that you just made, it's that because it's messed up the economy, not just number-wise, it's created a different environment. So it's harder, it's moved the labor force around, is I guess the point I'm trying to make.
That's
you
correct.
know, in such a way that's kind of disrupted, it's disrupted business.
That's correct.
As usual.
That's correct. And businesses all across the scope, you know, across the state. So whether it's agriculture or whether it's retail or whether it's a restaurant industry, those people are struggling because now they're trying to reopen because the mask mandate's gone away, and people are more relaxed about what the COVID virus is doing or not doing. And I think our healthcare people have done such a brilliant job of making sure that people who get COVID are able to get over COVID.
Exactly.
You know, and while we're very concerned about still having some deaths, we were in a much better place today than we were.
We were, yes,
you know, and it gets better and better every day.
Right.
So, as a state, we need to go back to work. I mean, people are trying to get their businesses back, and those are the ones that are really have been hurting over the last few months. You know, not being able to open has been a bad thing for our business industry. We need that to come back so that we can get the big ball rolling again.
Exactly. And speaking of the big ball rolling again, you guys up here this session, or it's a fiscal session, so you guys are working on the big ball, getting it rolling again, not just from COVID, but just in general. The mindset is how to use the federal dollars. I think it's like $13 billion coming in, while not increasing the size of government, but also creating an environment that's going to bring more people into the state, more business and industry in the state, to help our state not just recover from COVID, but be able to get beyond that and be able to get back in those higher in those rankings to compete with other states. So what are you guys working on now that you see as a big issue, and what's your legislation?
Well, obviously, you know, this is a tax session, so there's going to be some really important tax reform bills that are going to come out, and we're hopeful that we can do some really good work for the state in trying to lower their taxes instead of raising their taxes, and I think that's important. That's what I advocate for. I mean, the lower you can make those taxes, the more benefit it gives not only to the people that live here, but the people that do business here, and that's what's most important.
As a matter of fact, just last night, the House passed a major tax reform bill.
That's correct. That's correct. And look, it takes 70 votes on our side. That's a very difficult thing to do.
Right.
So, you know, to be able to do that for the people of the state, I think is a great thing. It's very important. And I hope it goes through the process. I voted for it.
Yeah, you voted for a tax decrease, and matter of fact, now it goes on to the Senate side.
Correct.
So if the Senate votes for it, you know, people in Louisiana are going to start paying less in taxes, thanks to the hard work you guys have been doing up here.
That's what we hope. That's what we hope. Yes.
What other legislation do you have that you are working on?
So I have a couple of bills that I'm very proud of. One of them, you know, has to do with social media. I went to the DAs, and one of the problems that we have with social media is that people are putting videos on there that are very.
I do good videos, by the way.
Well, but they're disheartening to me because it may be a video of somebody, you know, in a fight or somebody that gets killed or something, and I think that's disheartening to me.
Right.
So I brought a bill that increases the penalties on somebody who posts a video that brings bodily injury to the person that is in the video.
Okay.
And the DA supported it.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. So
because in a day when we got rising violence and video games that have violence on them, this is something that can kind of curb the reality version of that.
That's what I hope to do. I hope that we can put a mindset back in the people of the state of Louisiana that it's most important to set the phone down and go help a neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, let's get the neighborly part of the state going back like we're supposed to, right? I mean, that's what we're called to do.
Exactly.
Is to help each other and to help your neighbor. And I just think it's so important that, you know, I understand that you have the right to video, and that's okay. But to post it without using, you know, is not necessarily a good thing.
But also, it's kind of like screaming fire in a crowded movie theater.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
I hate to use that analogy, but it is the analogy. Although yesterday they also passed a bill that is going to not allow the ability to be able to pick up the phone, in a vehicle. So I noticed that last night. But
that's correct.
But more fiscal stuff, you're working on on the fiscal issues too.
That's correct. So another one of the bills that I co-authored was a bill that Barry Ivy brought, Representative Ivy, and it's to allow nurse practitioners to be able to practice independently. And we don't want them to necessarily not collaborate, but they're having to pay a collaboration fee currently under current law, and we don't want that to stop. We want them to still collaborate with the doctors, but we want to also make it, Louisiana is 49th in the nation in healthcare.
Right.
And part of the problem is access to care.
Exactly.
There are districts like mine.
Right.
Where doctors, I certainly have wonderful doctors in my district.
Right.
And we do all across the state, but we can't fill all those holes.
Right.
And so nurse practitioners are filling those holes. And I just, I was felt compelled to be able to get on this bill to try to help provide access to care in Louisiana.
I've been following this issue for a couple years now. A lot of nurse practitioners are coming to me and talking about this, on my show in about a year ago, and they were saying basically, they don't want to not, work with doctors. They just want to be able to operate more independently because there's other states where nurse practitioners can make more money and people can have more access to better health care because the nurse practitioners sometimes with a lot less overhead can operate in a rural area and people can have more access to that health care. So this bill, from what I understand, kind of increases that access.
That's what we're trying to do, and we were certainly not trying to overrun the doctors or try to overstep the bounds. The nurse practitioners fully understand that they have a lane to practice in, and they don't want to go outside that lane. They just want to be able to provide good care to the people of Louisiana, and I think that's important.
And who knows, maybe the benefit of this bill might be, while opening up more access, it may mean actually more doctors get to work with more nurses, and therefore they can get more referrals from those nurse practitioners who are able now to practice and see more people as a result. So it might actually help doctors more.
I think you're right, and I certainly believe that it's going to be a big part of helping the state.
I love that. So, what other legislation do you have?
So I have let's see, I just brought an HCR 63, and this also deals with labor and the businesses across the state because I'm business minded.
Right.
HCR 63 memorializes Congress to look at the H-2B program. The H-2B program is a program where migrant workers can come here.
I saw this in the committee. You were talking about that.
They're fully vetted. They have Social Security cards, they have driver's licenses, and they come here to work and try to help fill a labor gap, and then they go back home to whatever country they came from at the end of their term, which is usually 10 months. Louisiana per capita is one of the highest users of the H-2B program in the nation, and it is very important that we allow these people to come here to fill that gap, to fill that hole, because these are jobs that people from Louisiana don't necessarily want to do.
Okay.
Not that they're not making plenty of money, because my business has to pay $14.59 per hour.
Well, you're paying $14.59 an hour right now?
For these people to come, but I have to also advertise for a 2-week period before they'll allow me to get these visas to bring these people in.
Okay.
And I can tell you that it's important for people to know that in the last 3 years I've had no applicants that want to come to work for $14.59 an hour. So it just asks Congress to look at the program. Let's try to fix the program. There are only 66,000 visas allowed in the H-2B program nationwide. That's not enough. There needs to be twice that many. This program has been flooded over the last couple of years by people trying to do the right thing and to do it legally.
Right.
And ask Congress to look at the program to see if we can fix it so that Louisiana can, and all the rest of the country can get their workers.
So there is a general consensus to for employers to not only be able to work legally in the system, but with the legislators like yourself, they're trying to expand the system to be able to work within those legal boundaries to not only help work within that program, but also help Louisianians in a way that their jobs aren't getting intruded on.
That's right, and that's why you have to advertise. That's why the federal government, before they issue these visas, say that you have to advertise, and if somebody that fits the need, they have to be hired before you'll ever give you a visa. And it's a really a great program. It's good for the nation. It's good for Louisiana. And look, these H-2B workers, I don't know that many people realize, these H-2B workers work in all across Louisiana. Right. It's restaurants, it's hotel motels, it's the farm,
not just landscaping.
But landscaping is a big part of it.
Exactly.
But truckers, my men have CDLs. they have driver's licenses, they have social security cards, they're paying taxes. These people are really good for our state.
Yeah. So expand the program helps businesses and doesn't hurt Louisianians.
That's correct.
I like that.
That is correct.
I like that idea. So what other legislation do you think you might support that's going on right now?
Well, like I said, there's over 700 bills, so there's lots of legislation that I like to support. I'm a business person, so I look for bills that are business minded.
Pro business.
That's correct, pro business. And I just believe that it's time for Louisiana to get back on track. It's time for us, like you said, to get the big ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a cycle. Once people go back to work, they start paying taxes again. They're at the grocery store more, paying sales tax.
Exactly.
And that helps us to develop the programs and to fund the programs that are needed by the people of the state. And it's all a part of how this big process works.
And what I'd like to point out in speaking to other legislators like yourself, that there's a general consensus to not only for business, but for our roads, for our bridges, our education system. You guys aren't just working on one thing, you guys are working on all the pieces of the puzzle to be able to bring it all together, or as Mark Wright said yesterday, putting the right NFL team together in the right stadium and so the right amount of spectators can join in on the game.
That's correct. And you spoke briefly about the billions of dollars that's coming down from the federal level. And look, these funds are flowing into the state, but they're also flowing into our police juries, they're flowing into our cities.
Yep.
And I think it's very, very important that we understand that this is one-time money.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful about how we spend these dollars.
Right.
Not just on the state level,
right.
All across the state. These dollars need to be invested in projects that are going to last a very long time and are going to give a return back to those cities and the state so that we can generate more money by investing these dollars.
Without growing government.
No, we don't want to grow government.
Right.
If anything, we want to
exactly.
We're going to give government smaller, make government smaller.
Less money in the right areas and for the one-time projects in other areres. Was there anything that any nuggets of information that people might not know, or something that might be funny about the legislative session that might be going on?
There's not, it's when you're here, it's intense. When you're here working, it's an intense time.
I love this answer.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you're reading through bills and you're trying to make sure that you're going to have a good informed vote before you do it. You're talking to colleagues that maybe come from the healthcare industry or come from a different background so that they can help you understand. And I think that's a big part of being successful. You have to be able to utilize all of the information that you can get so that you make a very good vote for the people. And you don't always do that.
Right.
There are times when you make maybe a mistake or a bad vote, but you go back and learn from that.
Right.
So that you can do better the very next time.
I've like I said, sometimes it's the process. Sometimes you don't get the legislation you want, but in the process you get the information out to pave the way for future sessions to get the right legislation through.
Right. Another thing that's also important too is that some people think this just happens, right? Legislation, you have an idea, you come up here, you file the bill goes through, gets through both sides of the governor. It doesn't normally happen that way. Good legislation, I was told when I first got elected, may take 3 years. So you may bring something, you may put it through part of the process, it gets tweaked, it gets amended, it gets changed, and you learn how you can make it better. But when it goes through the process and in the end, you want it to be something that's really good for the state, or good for your area, or good for the people of the state of Louisiana. That's very important. Yeah,
just yesterday, or I say last night, because y'all were here late, I saw 3 bills go through that all of the legislators said they've been working on this legislation for one of them for 4 years.
That's correct.
And we got it through. But
usually that's when you get something that's really spectacular for the state, is because it's been vetted, it's been checked, it's been rechecked, it's been amended and changed, and that's really when you get something that's good for the state.
Love it. I love hearing that. That's actually really one of those good nuggets that I like of information to let people know that legislation isn't just happening like that. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 years in the making, not to mention, and I always like to give people upstairs in this building credit, you got a team of accountants and lawyers that are double checking everything you all do to make sure that it jives with state law, make sure it jives with other spending procedures and doesn't conflict, and then they tell you guys, hey, this will work, this won't work, and then they're double checking it when it comes out.
The staff in this building is incredible. And we could not do what we do without the help of this staff. When you have an idea, you can go to them, and most of them have been here for so many years that they've heard this bill before. They've heard this idea before. They can sit down with you and tell you what this is going to do to your district,
why it won't
how
work,
it's going to work, not work. And so the staff and the people that work in this Capitol are incredible, incredible people, and we appreciate them.
I love it. State Representative Troy Romero, District 37, I thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.
I really do, and I'd love for the people of Louisiana to, do you have a Facebook page or anything like that?
Troy Romero, State Representative, District 37, and I'd love to have them on there. You know, my wife, who is an incredible, incredible woman, probably could have done this job as well as I did it.
Yeah.
And she and Mary.
You said
my legislative they're incredible workers. So I tell all my people all the time, call Mary, call them in my office in Jennings.
Call them and talk to them.
Send an email.
They know what to do.
You know, one of the things too is that people think, oh, well, you don't have access to the legislators here. Oh, yes,
no, you do. Absolutely.
We work for the public, not for ourselves. So we want to have that interaction. We want to get emails that say, hey, I'm for or against an item, because we can weigh that in our thought process. It's not just what happens here. It's what happens at home and all across the state. So Emily, my wife, does my social media for the most part. She probably does 95% of it. And I'm told by other legislators from all across the state that it's one of the best in the state. So I do challenge people to go look on Facebook, get on social media. It's a great way to get information out. And you'll learn some things. I mean, whether it's road closures or in our area, of course, we've had lots of those, right?
Exactly, right. We have so many roads and bridges in this state.
That's right. But go use those social media avenues and get in touch with your legislator. Let them know what what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's the best way to be. That's all. I love that you're bringing this back up, because this is the best way to get people involved. People don't realize how accessible their legislators are, either through social media or email, or going to legis.la.gov, and you can find your email for your legislative site if somebody's in your district, or like I said, or give your information, because let me tell you, I've been in those committee meetings where they've read emails and information from their constituents.
Right. I tell people all the time too, the governor has opened this Capitol back up, and the speaker, I know the speaker's in charge, but the leadership has said that it's okay to come here. Right. And I think that people need to understand that this is your capital. Yeah, this isn't ours. This is the state of Louisiana's capital. You're welcome here. You're welcome to come here and visit with us, take a tour, see what this beautiful building is all about. And I challenge people to come and see. Come and see the process. It's very interesting.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
And what we'll have to do is next time I'm up in your neck of the woods, I'll reach out to you and we'll do a follow-up to keep the people informed.
That sounds good.
Thank you again. I appreciate it. Everybody else, please, as I always say, share the information with somebody. Let them know what's going on. And if you know Troy Romero, please reach out to him. And in the meantime, tune in for the next episode. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time.